And do we have anyone? I think we're still setting up the Zoom. It's on recording now? Okay, great. Is there anyone that's on Zoom? Oh, we have to put them in. Okay. And then we also have Veronica. Do you want to say, that's okay.
Veronica Hurd, non-teaching rep.
All right, so we do have quorum, so we're going to start the LSC meeting. I believe we may have Amy Martin calling in. She wasn't able to make it in person. So Amy, are you on the line?
You are under a different name. Wait.
Okay, I
I
don't
see her.
I don't see her either. So once she does come online, we'll acknowledge her. But for the time being, we do have quorum, so we're going to start the meeting.
He did just send an email saying she's dialed in.
Is she on the right link? We do have other people that are on the Zoom link. There's like maybe 10 people. So,
I'll try to re-chat it to him.
okay. So we'll see if we can bring her in. All right, so just calling the meeting to order. Do we have anyone for public participation? Anyone from the audience who would like to participate? Any notes? Uh-huh.
No, I didn't think sit. I said stand by me. Hi, my name is Leslie. I have my two daughters with me. They're sophomores and sophomore and junior. I just wanted to kind of speak on what's been going on this past week with their coach Megan. I guess papers weren't all the way completed and it was supposed to be completed and she's working on it. Everything's getting done, but the girls have not had practice all week and no one's really been able to like step in, whether it's the AD or Miss Morris or some other coach or captain or whatever. But they have a game Saturday and things still aren't sorted out. So if they don't have a coach, they can't participate in Saturday's game. And there's just hasn't been a lot of transparency. It's kind of been a little all over the place. I just wanted to put it out there because it's not fair to the girls, but it's also not fair to, everybody else that has to try to step in and step up because it's really not happening. But this is where we're at.
Sorry, what's
It's cheer. The sideline, they cheer for the football team. They have a game Saturday and they also do basketball. Yeah, it's kind of. Anyway, there was some more girls that were supposed to come, but they're in detention because they figure we don't have practice. Let's get our detentions done. They've been coming a first period late. Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we also want to acknowledge Leslie is now joining us, just gave public comment. So Leslie, do you want to?
Hi, I'm Leslie Gonzalez. I'm a parent representative.
Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to provide public comment?
Hi, my name is Kieran Sucher.
And Reed Heelan.
We're juniors and we're doing like IBDP. That's like, because we want to sit through this LSC meeting, but we were just like wondering about like what's going on with like winter formal and if we're having it this year or not. That's it.
Did you say the formal, winter formal?
Yeah.
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 Oh, I thought it was like you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, you're not asking about homecoming, you're asking about the winter formal? Are you asking about homecoming or the winter? Fall? Okay. All right. Anyone else like to come up for public comment? All right. Well, seeing as there's no one else who wants to speak, I think we can start our meeting. So we wanted to.
There's a hand up on online.
Oh, great.
It's Angelica, I will promote you to be able to talk.
Hello, my name's Angelica. I have a daughter, a senior.
Give me just a second. I need to turn the volume up.
Yeah. Also, Angelica, we have 2 minutes for public comment, so we'll start to time you once we turn the volume up.
Sounds great.
All right, I think we've turned it up, so you can go ahead and begin.
My name's Angelica. I have a senior and a incoming eighth grade freshman next year. And also my older daughter graduated back in 2024 from Lincoln Park High School. I'm pretty sure because I'm not gonna go over like the whole situation, as most LSC members are aware based on my email communication with Dr. Steinmiller and Ms. Theus. I just want to express my disappointment. I think that's the right word. With the lack of communication, transparency with the administration, not from this issue, but since 2020. Seems like there's a pattern to this, and I'm just very disappointed. I'm very curious to know if any of the LSC members know exactly what responsibility the Dr. Steinmiller has as the principal, and what he oversees and what he's responsible for, and also the APs. Like, what exactly are their responsibilities? Because I'm not involved as much with the LSC, but I'm just very curious to know, because I think it's very important that us as parents and you guys as LSC members, that we start holding everyone accountable. I haven't seen much difference since 2020 COVID and 2025 already. So is there like is there a page where I can read exactly what are the responsibilities? And the reason why I'm saying this is because CPS, there's principals who are able to manage 1,000 to 1,500 elementary students, and I know it's different elementary and high schools, and they're running a
Angelica?
well-oiled machine.
Angelica, we have surpassed the 2 minutes for public comment.
Got
I
it.
do-
My daughter wants to speak. Can she have her 2 minutes, and I'll speak for her, and she'll pass those 2 minutes to me?
Yeah, your daughter would have to speak for herself for the next 2 minutes. I would also encourage you, if you want to participate in public comment after the LSC meeting, you'll have another 2 minutes to speak. But we would definitely open up the floor for your daughter.
Okay. When do I get answers to my questions?
So for public comment, there isn't a question and answer session. We do listen to all of your questions. We also have read your emails. Would you like your daughter to speak?
No, I'll just wait for the next public comment section. Thank you
Perfect.
so
Thank
much. I appreciate it.
Yep. So that, I think, is there anyone else online that would like to provide public comment?
I do see Amy Martin is now on, so I will promote her to panelist.
Amy? Does she need to acknowledge that she's online? Can you please acknowledge that you're online, Amy? Then we can recognize you. Since you're not present, you don't have, I think, voting ability, but you can at least participate with dialogue and conversation. Would you like to just say your name, state your name and your position on the LSC?
Looks like she's still on mute.
Okay, I think you're still on mute. we unmute?
Trying.
Okay.
Talking's permitted. I just,
Okay, we're gonna try to unmute you, Amy, but if you do have any comments, hopefully we can get you to unmute and then we can, if you want to chat as well, just leave those chats in the Zoom meeting. Perfect. Okay, so moving on to the agenda, we're going to review the minutes from the last LSC meeting. Jeff, I think you passed them along to everybody. Did everybody have a chance to review the LSC meetings from our August meeting? All right, so do you want to put a motion to approve the August LSC meeting notes? Anyone want to put a motion? Okay. Amy, motion to approve. Anyone second the motion? Veronica seconds. All those in favor of approving the August LSC meeting notes, say aye. Anyone not in favor? No nays? Okay, great. So that motion carries. Moving on to celebrations for Lincoln Park High School. Any celebrations that anyone wants to point out?
This is Amy, and I figured out how to unmute so we can celebrate that. I somehow dialed into whatever was on the original invite that Dr. Steinmiller sent out this summer, and I've been waiting for 10 minutes. I was like, they're not joining. I figured it out.
Yeah. Well, great. I'm glad that you're with us, Amy. How was Clubpalooza?
Clubapalooza was awesome. We had 57 clubs participating. Actually using the mall space, especially with kind of the enclosed space, really kind of created a nice environment where students were able to explore and look at different clubs. I think it's the biggest turnout we've had. And the idea of even having where even when clubs didn't have someone to represent, that there was a poster for every single one of the clubs gave opportunities for students to engage, learn more about the different things, the QR code so students could sign up. So it was definitely structured in a way in which students could, I think some students were really excited. We had to kind of tone some down. Some freshmen wanted to sign up for like 15 or 16 different clubs. So we had to temper those expectations a little bit, but it was a really, really great event. And looking forward to all the clubs that are coming up.
No, my son tried to participate. It was during his lunch hour, and I think some students were still curious and kind of had to be late to some classes. So just maybe next time, maybe an after school activity. I don't know. Just giving people time to like really explore and peruse all their different options.
Understand?
Any other celebrations, guys?
Sure. I'll speak to this a little bit more when I talk about my committee notes, but the attendance rate for the first 4 weeks of school is the average is 92.24%, which is very high and higher than at that point last year.
Great. Yeah, 92% is great. What about did we ever institute the music between classes?
Not there yet. Not there yet. I also don't want our entire system to explode. You don't know, but that has not been implemented yet. But we do have our timers and things that do go off in the hall to let students hurry up. But we have not achieved that yet. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, senior pictures are coming up. Just like other things that are just going. I mean, it's been a fast 5 weeks, but just a lot of really positive interactions with students. I'll report out more on like some of the things in the report, but just kind of seeing some good trends just as a school, and just the fact that it's been 5 weeks and doesn't feel like 5 weeks. I don't know if that's a.
And is this the week for progress reports?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's midway through the first semester?
Yeah, quarter.
Quarter. Okay.
Yeah.
Things are looking good.
Yeah. But I'll do a lot of shout outs in the principal's report.
Well then, any other celebration? Then let's go on to friends. Let me give you the.
All right. So friends of, they are just giving it their all. They have quite a few quite a few things going on future wise. They're already planning for their October pledge drive that be coming up. Also, they have a trivia night parent mixer coming up. They are yet to put a date, but I believe they're either working on the October 22nd or 3rd. Those are the two dates they kind of put out there that they'll finalize that soon. Also, Friends of Lincoln Park has paid for some tuning of the instruments. They've updated bathrooms, I believe, on the first floor. They put funds for the gym, the painting of the gym. Also, every classroom has a smart board. I think last year we were still missing 5 or 6. I don't remember the numbers, but every classroom has a smart board now. They also did the graduation T-shirts and the swag bag for the freshmen and just things that I mentioned in the past. And we are getting some new spirit wear in. They did buy a new housing for stuff. So we're hoping to put that in the auditorium. So on days that there are concerts or theater, we can hopefully open up shop. And that's about it as far as all the main stuff. So yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to the principal report, and we're going to be focusing on the CIWP. For new LSC members, I wanted Principal Steinmiller to kind of take a chance to kind of review the CIWP because it is a super important document. It's a living document that we really focus, that's kind of like our pillars for our goals. So without further ado, I'll give it to Principal Steinmiller to review.
Got it. All right. Yeah, the focus, I'm going to quickly just touch on a few other items, but the main area of focus for today is just the CIWP, kind of just helping you kind of navigate it. But I just want to touch on a couple of things. I did hear, about like with the coaching position. Again, we set up expectations and support with our athletic director and our director of extracurricular support coaches onboarding. At a certain point, though, if we don't have all the documents, even with that support, there's a threshold of time that we can't have somebody who hasn't completed all that onboarding in front of students. It does create long-term issues. And I know at other schools that have not followed through on that, it leads to lawsuits and other types of things. So we have to just ensure everything is in place once full onboarding has been completed. Again, the athletic director and director of extracurriculars are fully supportive. Then we can move forward. But we can't put ourselves in that position, as frustrating as that may be. So I know that was an item that came up. Students who are being so patient, waiting about winter formal. One thing I want to just bring up, we have homecoming coming up, so we're focused on making sure that's a great event. The one thing that's new this year that we're having to pay attention to is all our students who are attending have to have 90% attendance. And so our concern is, and what we have to pay attention to is if students, can we afford these events at certain sizes and spaces? And that's something that we want to like temper our expectations going into. Now, looking at the data, actually, our students are doing a pretty great job. We have about 15 to 1,600 students who would be eligible to go to homecoming. But it does put us where we sometimes have 1,600 total go to the homecoming dance. Being that's our threshold with 90% attendance, we want to kind of like make sure we can meet those expectations. Why winter formal is sort of in a pause moment is we want to see how homecoming goes to see what type of venue we may use for winter formal. We do intend to do winter formal. It may just not be the same. It may be where we have to set a location such as the zoo or somewhere else where they have a smaller capacity of like 800, where the cost is a lot less. And it's a ceiling that when we hit 800, we're done. First come, first serve. So we are looking into that, but we do want to see how the impact of our attendance policy, what that has on our dances, because we do have to be fiscally responsible. So it's not that we are not having a winter formal. We weren't planning. We don't have the details of anyone planned out because we really do need to see the students can meet expectations around attendance. but also show up for the dance. So if we don't have enough students show up for homecoming, then we have to have a way smaller venue for winter formal. But I can't interact and do questions. It's really just for the panel. But I would be happy to meet with you all individually. If you guys want to set up an appointment in the main office, we can talk about that more and then discuss that. Cool. Other things that have come up, graduation. We have our graduation. We try to get our graduation in the first days possible. We did reflect on last year's graduation dates. One issue we did run with having Saturday graduation is that all of our JROTC have to make a decision whether they participate in the Memorial Day parade or come to graduation. And it's something that's sort of like a culmination of some of their work, but also just on the availability of the space at the UIC. So the date is Friday. I know that some families, have already been trying to plan well in advance. We hope that, and we have the date set, it's solid, but we did make that adjustment actually over the summer. So we've been putting that communication out. But I know that as an LSC, you've received communication just that, a family or so have just frustrated the date is not Saturday, where it's traditionally been. But again, we try to book these things well in advance to give everybody a good timeline for what's taking place over the course of the year. And hopefully with at least 9+ months in advance, people can make adjustments for having graduation on Friday and not Saturday.
Yeah, and I'm just going to make a comment on that because I read through those emails and I really appreciate the thoroughness of the conversation that took place online. I think it was communicated that it was the Friday, and so that's where the issue really stems. Is if we don't know when it's going to take place, maybe we put a TBD so we don't give the families a sense of being able to plan around something that isn't set in stone. I do appreciate that we, as quickly as possible, communicated that it was going to be the Friday, the 22nd versus Saturday, the 23rd. And I understand that now families need to make some adjustments. It is a Memorial Day. It's a holiday weekend. So UIC was not the format or the venue that we used last year either. It was?
It's the same venue, same place. And it's actually one of the best places to have it because we can accommodate.
I think a lot of
Yes.
high schools use UIC, so I didn't know if it was a condition of when we get slotted, it's sort of like you take what you get, you know what I mean? So, but I just want to acknowledge that we all read through those emails and I can understand the frustration. And I'm hoping that with communication 9 months in advance, families can make some adjustments and understanding that, we need to be somewhat flexible to be able to have a good venue for all of our students who are graduating and understand all the different, logistics that go into that planning.
Other just brief things. One thing we've been focusing on is diverse learning positions. We did get 2 LBS1 diverse learning positions. One has already been hired and staffed to teach classes and is providing supports right now. The other we are still hiring for. I did some interviews this week, so I hope to have that resolved quickly. And then we have our staffing. We were not given SECAs, just LBS1. So I'm working with our case manager to follow up on trying to get SECA support and making sure that we have the appropriate allocation to be able to support our students. But beyond that, we are fully staffed. The only, I do anticipate like a maternity leave coming up, but we're already interviewing for that already. That's not till later in the school year. But we're being really proactive to make sure our positions are fully staffed. We did get, this will come up in the financial, but we did get OST funds. And so that's something that we do have support for like clubs and other things. We got $34,000
For this year?
for this year. So, so $34,000. So again, we're working through submitting the final usage of those funds. That's due tomorrow. So we're working through that
We're not
right now.
using it.
Oh, we will use it for clubs, but it's how do we distribute the $34,000?
I think Amy had the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's been emails back and forth with Ms. Morris on that. Like where are we in making that decision and how will that decision be made, especially if it's due tomorrow and we haven't had any conversations about that?
I know there was a planning meeting. I don't know if it happened towards the end of school or not, but we, for the most part, it'll most likely be a small stipend going towards each club that's being offered, and then a small amount of money for resources for the clubs. But we intend for all of it to go to clubs.
Okay.
But it's still 34,000. So even if you gave every club $250, for example, as just we appreciate you doing the club, that's $15,000. And so if you do another 250 for supplies, there's $30,000, and that's the money.
Right.
So that's what, and then the other 4,000 would offset the benefits that go with it. So that's where we're going with it. But I need to finalize that with the team. That's what I anticipate the final thing being, unless there's, as a group, we come to consensus of doing something a little differently. But I think that is the intent.
Okay. It would just be great to planning going forward, how we can also perhaps subsidize these clubs. I'm not saying they need more, because it sounds like teachers are willing to do this without, but it's nice to have a little something as like a thank
Yep.
you. And I also just want to put out there that we are ensuring that these are clubs that are functioning. What determines a functioning club? Is it, do they meet once a week? Do they meet, once a month? And is there attendance taken? Because I know in the past that we've been sort of loose with that. So I trust that Ms. Morris is handling that. I just want it on the record for all of us to be aware that this has been a problem in the past in terms of club follow.
And that was something I also brought up the Friends of meeting, of just the need for financial support moving things forward. So, which is a major part of what I talked with Friends of, was really about money moving forward to support things that are taking place and the good things that are going on. I also did my 5-week, this is 5 weeks. So I've been done. I did 5-week check-ins with my assistant principals, the director of culture and climate. I still have a couple tomorrow. But in those data check-ins and really looking at what we're doing, I'm very excited about like the progress and how we're moving forward and consistency. Example of some of those things would even be, let me bring up one. Okay. One thing we're monitoring, for example, the cell phone policy and implementation of it. Yeah. I'd rather not show the document. I actually don't want to show it. So it's popping up. What we, in the check-in that we have, basically of 72 classes that were reviewed, 8 were not following the policy. 2 had subs, 2 on top of that. So making it 10 did not had subs that weren't following up on it. But for the most part, we see the cell phone policy being implemented by our teachers across the board. The next steps will be to reinforce that expectation school-wide. And then also for Mr. Gombieski, our director of culture and climate, in spaces where it's not being utilized, to reinforce why, kind of any roadblocks they may be encountering, to help them support full 100% implementation of that policy. We are seeing teachers present in the hallway, supporting transition at their doors, welcoming students, which is just awesome. Just a quick shout out to Ms. Briscato, Mr. Merle, Mr. Young, Mr. Brown, Ms. Hamilton, Ms. Parasham, Ms. Mounier, Ms. Montemuro, Ms. Ayton, Ms. Lindenbringer, Savage, Magar, Barrow, Bond. They're, I think, outside every single, and more people are. There's just some names that we're bringing up. So I'm not trying to but I just want to do a quick shout out. We're seeing hall passes are being implemented for the majority, and reinforcing when those expectations are not. As for just incidents, one of the goals we have is to reduce out of school and in school in response to behaviors. And we are seeing that that those reductions in out of school suspensions and in school suspensions. Right now, there have been 59 misconducts, 13 detentions for behavior, not the attendance part. That's a little different. 39 parent conferences, 6 referrals for services, 2 P circles, 55 restorative conversations, 2 ISS, 3 OSS, 2 repetition of the same infraction. And this is like a level 3 kind of thing. And then 6 multiple infractions that individuals that we keep working on. So we're seeing that, as we're doing ISS, it's a very reflective process, not just coming into the room. Detention is also a reflective process, and not just coming in with your cell phones. And so those are some major shifts in practice. And that's where you see some of that impact with attendance as well. And again, I think that there's an attendance committee, so I don't want to go too much into that, because I think you'll report on that, but just seeing some positive progress to it. I will say I'm really, our teachers have been doing an awesome job. We've had past instances where there just haven't been a consistency with submissions of attendance. We aren't seeing that. There's been reminders coming from the attendance office, as well as from Ms. Theus, to help support that. Our biggest gap is kind of trying to balance a little bit of when we have subs who maybe aren't following full expectations and submitting the attendance. And so we're talking through different options for that. But again, these check-ins are helpful because they help me make sure that the other leaders in this building are moving things forward. I do have my office a 5-week check-in tomorrow, and that's where we'll review financial information forms, waivers, and a bunch of other different topics. So that's a very long but short update. I do want to focus a little bit on the CIWP. I did attach it. It is a weird and not totally user-friendly document. And so what I was able to send to you in my principal's report was a PDF of it. but it's more of an meant to be more of an interactive tool, which I will show you in just a moment. Let me share my screen. Okay, I'm sure. And it's kind of hard to like with the document you received, it does have it kind of laid out, but it's basically turned it into a PDF. So it's like a running PDF. But basically this is a tool that we have online for us to interact with for our CIWP. This is the last year of the CIWP, our continuous improvement work plan. In the spring, we will start doing a different one. But what you can see in this is over the course of, on this page is just an example. This is SY24 activities, SY25. During our network meetings with as a district, we do check in to make sure, are we moving towards the benchmarks and then updating those. Obviously we aren't to quarter one, so you see that it's not completed, but it's showing that we are making some of those progress towards curriculum instruction, post-secondary, and connected well-being. And so like here, as I click on, for example, post-secondary, you can see that our overall goals and priorities, and then this is something that Mr. Young and the team are working on, that we have some of our analysis, our theory of action, our implementation plan, but then a follow-up are we meeting these milestones over the course of the year? And so every quarter we do a check-in. And so you can see here things that are being completed and the expectations for the last few years of milestones. And again, what we're looking for going into SY26 is a little bit more specific, and just changing some things as we continue to improve our work. You have access to the PDF of this. So what I would say is, I don't expect that over the last couple of days you've fully digested the CIWP, but we encourage anyone on the LSC to participate in developing our CIWP in the future. So if you want to take a look at it, kind of get an idea of how that is organized. And if you have any specific questions about how it's organized, please email me and I can work through that. And maybe it's something that even coming into the next LSC meeting, if there are specific questions, I can do a more detailed breakdown of that. Because I could probably talk about the CIWP for like an hour plus, and that's not good use of time here.
All right. So I have a link to a site that has our CIWP, and we have 5 pillars: curriculum and instruction, inclusive and supportive learning environment, connectedness and well-being, post-secondary success, partnerships, and engagement. Those are our 5 pillars.
No, there's 3. So you're supposed to pick 2 out of the 5 to develop. So those are the 5 that the district has for all schools. Each school identifies which of the 2 pillars they want to focus on. We as a school chose to actually focus on 3. Post-secondary success, we've been finding success with, but it's one that if we lose, I don't want to lose sight of the post-secondary, because it is truly what our work is about. It's the outcome, like our students go through 4 years of school, they graduate, and we want to make sure they're on the right path. So we identified those 3, and that's where you should be able to see some of the details. The district is making all curriculum for schools, all of this information public. Our professional learning plan for our school is about to also be public, I believe in October. So you should be able to actually go online and engage in a lot more detail for every single school than you have in the past. As a school, we're focusing on our, for example, scope and sequence and unit plans. Those things are going to be documented online. And so there is more of a public facing breakdown of where schools are at. So I don't know what is reflected on that one specifically, but we have the 3 that we're focused on.
So what you say is going to be online, it's going to be a PDF of this rather than, because this is looking very similar to like Salesforce type of software. Do we have access to go and pull this stuff, or is it just whatever's posted?
I think what is posted online is it's just not this. I don't think it's the same way. I think you're on it. It's more like looks more like the PDF I shared with you.
Yeah. Okay, so we have curriculum and instruction for priority number 1.
Yep.
I will share this link with everybody on the LSC. I think we can talk a little bit more when we go into, because I really feel like for myself too, I just want to like dust it off. I'm a little unfamiliar with where we are with our progress on the CIWP, especially since we're concluding this one and starting a new one.
Yeah, we were on pace with all of our so all the milestones and benchmark. We've been on pace with all 3 categories. So we have been meeting it. The one SY26, we don't have all of that and we aren't quarter 1 yet to demonstrate growth for this year. But in SY24 and SY25, we were, and should be able to see those priorities and where we at. Now, what we are seeing, the one thing I do want to just kind of highlight with curriculum instruction, we are starting to make some shifts beyond that. What we reflected on the goals for curriculum instruction, they were heavily focused on teachers and not students, meaning teachers would participate in professional learning, but there was wasn't necessarily as much of a focus on what was the student outcome associated with that. And so we, in our professional learning plan, which will be published in October, it has kind of a student outcome, teacher outcome, and leadership development outcome. And this is a kind of a different framing of what that specific goal would look like. It's not finalized, but that's also because the district is sort of shifted in how that is organized. So what you see online, the outcomes we're moving towards is, for example, seeing, students being able to identify the learning goal in the classroom, students being able to communicate how to be successful with that learning goal in the classroom. And we're seeing some shifts in some practice of making it where teachers are making it very clear, even on like each slide of a PowerPoint presentation, the goal is clear so that students can reference that through the class. And so that's where that would be an instructional teacher goal that's shifting. Again, that isn't as aligned to the CIWP you see online, because we've made some shifts and changes with the new templates, but also with the new focus on students. But again, for this, I wanted to help like kind of frame out how it's organized, that we have the three. I'm also happy throughout the year if we want to focus on one to report out during an LSC meeting. And we've sort of done that in the past, that when we focus on post-secondary and we share out on post-secondary, then at a different meeting, share out on the growth and curriculum instruction, and then connectedness and well-being in a different meeting. I would encourage us, like that would be something I'd like to do, to instead of talking about all three for an extended period of time, having a targeted conversation about each of the priorities during the year. But this is the starting point, so I want to make sure that you're engaging with it to kind of understand how we're moving. And I imagine the entire process for CIWP. I'm not sure what it looks like in the spring. It hasn't been shared with us yet. These are the 5 pillars. Maybe it turns into something else. I have no clue. But I do think that what we are working on, there will be some consistency. There should be consistency as we progress throughout.
Okay, well, I just shared the link to the Lincoln Park LSC email, so everybody has a link that they can then review. I'm also going to put on the Google Drive a reference guide, which is going to be helpful for kind of just better understanding the CIWP. Anybody have any questions about the CIWP?
I keep it within my timeline
Yeah.
you gave me? Yes.
All right, so that concludes the principal report.
Yep.
So moving on to committee reports. I guess I'll start with the budget committee. All right. Here goes. So we met on Tuesday, the 16th. We had with us Ms. Lopez, Dr. Steinmiller, Mr. Cromer, Ashley Stapleton. Actually, before I get started, I do want to recognize that we have another member of the LSC who just joined us. We have Zach. Want to introduce yourself, Zach?
Hello, everybody. Zach Hofeld, community rep.
Oh, also, we have another one. Yes.
Ashley Stapleton, parent rep.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So just want to recognize that they are here. And Ashley was also at the budget meeting on Tuesday. Ms. Tukey was on the budget meeting call, as well as Dr. Macias. So for the budget tracker, if we can bring that up.
Already there.
So all the items that are highlighted in blue are the ones that we reviewed. All the items that are not highlighted were approved or just items that we reviewed last LSC meeting. Also, there aren't any that are over $10,000. If they are, they're highlighted in yellow. I wanted to just give a brief overview of the budget transfers. We have $5,000 that went from rental funds. These are the funds that receive for renting out our gym to Chicago Sports Social, or whatever the case might be. We've reallocated $5,000 of our rental income to fund athletic transportation. Now, we did talk about it a little bit because transportation is expensive. We had discussed that we would be supporting teams that have a lot of equipment, as well as like band that has a lot of equipment, and obviously to pay for student trips. So we are putting $5,000 into the transportation fund to kind of just have funds available so we can start booking those buses. Also, there's a transfer of $3,000 to the tech department. We have computers for the art class that we're not charging properly, so we now have equipment to help charge those computers. We have a supply line transfer of $179 for language and lit department. We have $2,250 that was from a pointer line that moved over to pay for paper. And then also a service line of $750 for the art department for their moving fee. Also, I don't know if we've added on to the budget tracker, but this is going to be discussed. We have a proposal for an executive coach for Principal Steinmiller. It is coming in at a $10,000 ask. Because it is over the $10,000 threshold, it is something that the LSC needs to review and also either approve. We did add the proposal on the Google Drive, so everybody has a chance to review, and we can obviously talk about this some more in our session when we talk about principal evaluation. So we can either put it up for a vote now, or we can put it on hold for later. Amy?
I have a question about transportation.
Okay.
Where are we in terms of what we have spent? Do we have a budget for what we're spending for transportation for sports? I know it's every year it sort of gets out of hand, so.
You want to click on the other tab, the transportation tab. We are tracking transportation, and I've asked Ms. Lopez to actually put in the sport itself, so we know which sport is receiving funds. And also if it's for performing arts or band or student trips.
That in what?
Yeah.
Where?
It's in the budget tracker, budget committee tracker under transportation line. It's the second tab.
It's actually not on the Google Drive. I will see if I can get
Yeah.
access to put it on the Google Drive.
Oh, the LSC.
Yeah, did you?
It's in my principal's report.
Yeah. Oh, in your principal's. report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I put links. Yeah, I've been putting links when I send the principal's report, I'll keep the budget tracker attached to it. So you have that update as well as like other documents in that report.
Yeah. I've also asked Ms. Lopez to put a tab there for department spend so we can track spend by department. I want to make sure that, you know, we are allocating funds equitably, but also that we know that there's some departments that need more resources than others. So we want to start tracking that. And then also, I would like to start tracking paper costs. I feel like we're spending a lot of money on paper. That's just me. Okay, so moving on. Any other questions about the budget transfers? And I think we're probably going to table the proposal for the executive coach until we go into principal eval. All right, so fundraisers. So we have pre-approved boosters, spiritware, uniforms, and accepting donations. But we do have other fundraisers that do come up that need LSC approval. One of the fundraisers is for the majorettes. They would like to do a fundraiser to sell merch. They're hoping to raise $1,200. And then we have another fundraiser for the LP Democrats, selling chocolate to fund political events / engagement, and they're hoping to raise $600. These are not covered under our umbrella approval, so I would put forth a motion to approve these two fundraisers. Anyone want to second that motion?
A Model UN actually just submitted a last minute one. Do
Oh.
consider it. And it was to a raffle, and this is for the Model UN Club to help pay for their conferences. Friends of has been really great at helping them out, but they also want to be proactive and do fundraising themselves and not just. Oopsie. Screen, huh? Sorry.
Oh, I hate when that.
Let me get through it. Anticipated revenue is 5,000.
Okay, and what are they selling or
They're doing raffles.
raffles? Okay.
Can we get rid of that speaker headphone? Sorry, I can't see that.
Anyone want to second the motion to approve these fundraisers? Zach second. Any discussion on the fundraisers? Yeah, Ashley?
So just more of the general conversation, magnetic, a general conversation that we had during the meeting and bringing forth here the conversation about doing like a umbrella for clubs as it relates to raising funds for their organization. Are we going to consider doing one of those umbrellas that aren't just necessarily the merch, the donations, and then there was one other format?
It was, you purchase their own like uniforms. or, like,
Uniforms, yes.
Uniforms, they could sell merch and then they can collect general donations for free. So we can, I mean, we can look at like different types of things to expand that umbrella if we want. I just think we need to put together like a proposal of what that need would be. One thing that did come out of our past LSC meetings the last few years, and actually it's from the students. I thought it was a really good proposal. They just want to make sure that as an LSC, we're aware of the different fundraising efforts that are going on. So we're not like overlapping or, cannibalizing kind of like that time. We're doing the same thing. That's something that did come from our students. And I thought that was a really good recommendation. So that's why we still want to I think it's important to engage that those three things should be fine without them kind of overlapping, where if they're doing something unique, like selling chocolate, if we have 20 clubs selling chocolate, nobody's going to make any funding on it. So I think we can just kind of figure out what that appropriate umbrella would be. And I think in the subcommittee, we can kind of discuss that further. Maybe we'll make that an item of how do we potentially expand that appropriately or create a pre-approval, but maybe it's where it still goes through like me or the director of culture and climate or a director of extracurriculars to kind of like, it's not just all of a sudden these things are popping up.
Any further discussion? All right,
Sorry.
Mhm.
So like with that, like, I think in terms of like keeping things organized, it makes a lot of sense. But also like, I think it slows so much down. Like if you're waiting a month to get something approved. So like, I would really push us to go forward with trying to find a way to where these things can start with simply a conversation with Ms. Lopez, and then bring it here after the fact.
okay.
Yeah, I think at the next, like we could come together as a subcommittee and like finalize that and talk through like a process of pre-approval from the LSC. And even if it is where like I'm the final approval, it still comes through, I kind of check it off. We do have to have LSC has to always sign off on fundraisers, and it also has to go to our chief. But if we have that kind of thing already in line, then we can get it moving.
All right, so yeah, we'll bring that up to the next, during our budget committee, a broader approval. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so all those in favor for these three fundraisers, the majorettes, the MUN and LP Democrats, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, so that motion carries. Moving on to student fees. We do wanted to bring to everyone's attention about the PSAT exam fee. It's $40 per student. Also, there is an AP exam fee this year, $99 per exam. There is I think there's a deadline to apply. Not sure on that deadline if it was October 31st, but there's a $40 late application fee as well as a $40 cancellation fee. These are super important AP exams. Obviously, if you do well, you can get credit for college. So I encourage students to take these AP exams, but they are going to be charged this year. And also, if you apply later, you're penalized by $40. And if you don't show up for the exam, you'll be penalized another $40. So I want everybody to be aware of that. So that's where we're bringing it up in budget.
So I have a question. So if they pay the $40 to ship for the test and then no show, they have to pay another $40?
So it's actually $99 for the
99.
test.
Or 99.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 99. If you don't show, you pay another 40 on top of that.
Because otherwise the school will get charged, and so that's not appropriate.
Okay.
Now, those students who have free or reduced lunch, those fees are waived or they're reduced. So,
Or if you don't show, then it would go on.
and teachers are communicating with their students on these fees and that they have to apply for the AP exam. And I just want to again emphasize that in the newsletter, we put those fees front and center so parents can urge their students to sign up for those AP exams.
Yep.
Also, there is a French exchange fee of $1,800. We've got 18 students who are going to be flying to France and vice versa, some French students coming into the US. And that fee of $1,800 really covers airfare. Their room and board is covered by their host families. So it's actually a really great deal. Go ahead. Yes.
Just to clarify, are the AP exam fees, are those on the basis of how many classes you're taking? Is that for like the total sum or individual?
Per exam. And this is, the district has been funding these for last several years, but with the budget crunch and everything going on, they no longer are doing that. They're still covering IB, but they are not covering AP. Except, and I do they included me and some of my colleagues on some of this conversation, because at one point it was just going to be everybody has to pay. They did make a good adjustment to make sure that students who are free and reduced wouldn't have to pay. So there was a point where that was even on the table. So, but they are covering students who financially can't afford. But we do have to put that $40 cancellation because they're not covering that if any student doesn't go.
What is our plan for ensuring that, like, I did see it in the newsletter, but like, do we have a timeline for like when you need to sign up for that? How we're going to collect the money? I mean, it's one thing to say you can't sit for the exam, but it's another thing to collect money once they
Yep.
didn't show.
No, yeah, I mean, there's a, and not to get people not to pay it, but like you pay it after the test is completed. But what Mr. Conzen and Ms. Quadri are working there, they have a communication layout plan. We will make the front and center instead of just being embedded in the newsletter. But communication directly with the students, directly with the parents, so the parents are involved in it. Communication on how to sign up for and what that, and also working then directly with the classes where the AP teachers are at. Because even like last year, the AP teachers still have to click some of the buttons for it. And so there is a plan to engage everybody in that process.
Along with that engagement, is there a way to kind of track as well, like as it goes on? So
Yeah.
like we can see like, hey, these 12 students we haven't heard from, like, let's keep on them.
Yeah,
Okay.
they keep auditing who, because
Okay.
we made the default no, so you have to make it yes. And there's some other things they're toggling and watching to make sure that everybody's checked off that decision is final.
I was wondering if there's something like Student Voice could do to like lower the cost, like maybe fundraise to like at least like take away from some of the money for some students, because like it's a lot for someone who might have like 3 AP exams to pay $300 or more. So maybe there's something Student Voice could do.
No, I hear, I'd be open to that. You know, especially when students are trying to really put themselves out there. And I mean, like I encourage, like that $100 is, I mean, it, for what they get and basically not having to pay for a class is pretty substantial. So we want to make sure that every kid has their opportunity for it. So yeah, I'd be totally open to have some conversations around that.
I was going to say, do we know how many students are in AP classes? Like we do like the quick calculation, maybe share that with friends of and say, can we start to fundraise?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers right off, but I can get those numbers to everybody. I mean, it's a large number. I mean, I think, yeah. So, but let me get the exact numbers instead of just trying to think off the top.
No, I was just going to ask, you know, if you have 5 or 6 AP classes, even if you don't meet the free and reduced lunch threshold, it could be
Back.
expensive. Is there a way that we could think about, I feel like we've done this for other things in the past, maybe we do it for dances and stuff, like how we can either offset those fees or what, can there be a process for people to submit to a group if we've raised some funds that allow for them to get, you know, a stipend or like something to help for those families that can't afford it, but don't meet the criteria for free and reduced lunch.
And we don't want them passing up this opportunity to get college credit, which in the long run, $99 is a lot less expensive than a credit at college, I could imagine. So you have a little investment now, even though it's a lot for some families. So it is super important not to pass up this opportunity, but if there is a financial burden, to try and communicate that to the administration, and let's see what we can do to raise some funds, because it's so important to have that opportunity for kids.
Totally hear it.
One of the other fees that we reviewed was the fall credit recovery program fee. So these are for students who need to recover some credit. It's after school program, $25 per class. We are actually offering two sessions in the fall and one session in the spring. Again, students who need to recover credit in order to graduate, this is an excellent opportunity to make up those credits. It's $25 per class. Highly encourage those students to do what they can to graduate on time.
Yeah, and I found out today the district is narrowing which schools can offer extra credit recovery. They've narrowed to 5 schools in our network. So of the 30 plus high schools, we're one of those. And part of it is we're centrally located, so it is a nice spot for people to be able to come from other schools. Just to be clear though, the turnaround on this was like very, very short, and like we had to put this together within a short amount of time. By Wednesday, it was posted, and students were expected to sign up for the classes by Monday. So it was like a 2 to 3 day turnaround. So we are offering them, and are offering it Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturday. And this is also a way to kind of offset some of the other operational costs, because that does provide for 2 security guards. So then we don't have to use other funds for that. So that there are multiple benefits to having credit recovery.
All right, so I'm going to put forth the motion to approve all of these student fees that I just ran through: the PSAT exam fee of $40, the AP exam fee of $90, late fee of $40, cancellation fee of $40, French exchange fee of $1,800 per student, and the fall credit recovery program fee of $25 per class. Anyone want to second that
There was one
motion?
more that was added last minute, if we could.
Oh.
And that's a field trip for $35 for a field trip.
Yes, budgets is on the agenda. LSC vote to approve expenses. Well, fundraisers. Yes.
Than our normal.
Yeah. So $35 per student for the field trip.
Yep.
So anybody want to second the motion for the student fees? Okay, Veronica seconds. Discussion?
I have a question. You got row 6 highlighted. It's at 26,226. What is that all?
Row 6.
Yeah. You know what? It's probably just if you scroll up. Never mind.
It was
probably some ID code that made it. I'm like, sorry.
I have a question. Is the pre-testing exam fee for the PSAT or the PACT?
PSAT.
Yeah. The pre-ACT that is during the school day is funded by the district.
Okay.
The pre-SAT we're doing on a Saturday, October 18th, is not. So, but it is something that we are offering for our students, and our students only.
All right.
Whatever we're choosing for. Next month.
So do we want to do that? Table everything for now, or do we want to vote on this and then next agenda we'll make sure that we have every vote that we need on the agenda?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like vote now and then like, just in case, like
Yeah.
do it next week. Like that's
Makes
fine.
sense. Not split up for votes.
That was already.
I think the exact cost is different. So we did approve like on our fees in July, we approved fees for these, but I think we had like TBD or the cost change. There was something to it. So we did approve fees for these. So this is really to make sure that we have it's always being presented towards you as an LSC. But the number changed, right? So like we have approved in July, but the number did change from what we put forward. And so in transparency that we're doing it again now. I do hear what you're saying. I think the plan, I would encourage us to vote that we've done a task, but to cover our bases, I agree. We outline the different types of votes that we might take during budget subcommittee. And we redo it in the future of just say all the votes from last month, we want to revote, all approved. And that's a way just to make sure we're meeting expectations.
Yeah, and give me that language that so I can make sure to put it in there. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. Cool. Any more discussion? All right, so all those in favor of approving the student fees that we outlined? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hands. Aye.
Aye.
All those? Any nays? All right, so the motion carries. Or I should say any
Just
abstentions?
abstain.
Are you guys abstaining?
Especially if they use our students already on top of the AP exam other students. So you want to be considerate.
Totally hear you. Yeah. And when are the AP exams
Other in the spring.
in the spring?
Yeah.
And then the application deadline is when?
It's beginning of November.
Okay, so we have some time to raise some funds for those to kind of offset some of that cost. Okay. So moving on to our annual student fee collection. This is the $450 being asked of parents to pay for each student here at LP. In July, we collected $50,850. In August, during Quick Start, we collected $176,650 with a total collection to date of $229,500. I will say that we had raised the student fee to $450 this year versus the $400 of last year, so that we can ensure that we had funds to pay for additional resources for our school. Right now, we are, pacing okay against last year, but last year we had less fees. It was $400 again. And I think this time last year we collected about that much. So we want to continually communicate to parents who have not paid the student fee to please pay, or at least if you have a waiver or a reduction, we'll calculate that and apply that to what we hope to raise. The goal is 50%, $495,000. So we have about a $265,500 difference at this point.
That'll be part of my office check-in tomorrow. I mean, it's not until the end of October that the financial income information forms are entered, and then you have November, then they get entered by the end of November. We're trying to push to get that done quickly and see if we can get it in ahead of time. But families do have till the end of October to submit that form. So we're pushing on that, and we are also looking to embed communication that goes out to parents every other week, along with like the tardies and absences, but also how much they still owe fees into that to every letter that would go out every 2 weeks.
And when is that starting?
So we have the communication we have been sending it, and I think next we have a subcommittee. Did you guys talk about that specifically? So
But does that include fees?
we're looking at like what that could look like in the future.
Okay, because that should probably start even before, like, I don't know why we have to wait. You can say, reminder, either submit your fee or you have not yet submitted your fee or your fee waiver. Like, I don't think we have to wait till November to do.
No,
that.
I again, I shared with you kind of the communication plan. We're continuing to follow that. of just sending the additional updates, especially as we go toward progress reports and report card.
But that has not started yet for fees.
No.
Got it.
No.
Okay. Is there a plan for when that will start for fees? I know attendance is
Yeah.
separate.
It's
Yeah, I mean, to Amy's point, the holidays kick in November. I think the sooner we start communication, the better, because then we can probably get more people to just pay the student fee and not have to worry about it for the rest of the year.
So the communication plan is around progress reports, which is coming out like this end of this week. And then the other one is then during parent teacher conferences in November. So we have two communication expectations that are going out. So one is after this week, in which that will go to families who haven't paid fees yet with that caveat, but then also at parent teacher conferences the next round after that. And at that point, we should have our waivers in place. So there'll be 2 rounds.
I think there should be every single week. If you've not paid your fee, you get an email every week until you pay your fee. Like, this is a lot of money that we're leaving on the table. I mean, this is over $250,000 that, you know, if you communicate with me 2 more times over the course of the year, that's not enough.
Not,
Like,
not
this
over the
has
course
to
of the
be-
year, but until we get the waivers put in, we do, like, it was the expectation, and I shared it, like, is 5 weeks, 10 weeks. At that 10-week point, we do have all of the waivers in. That is when I would say is your weekly communication, because then we can send direct communication to people we know for sure. Right now, I would be sending 60%, potentially 60% of our families a annoying letter of please pay a fee that they can't afford and that they're eligible for waivers. And I don't know if that's appropriate. The
But you're,
5 week-
but you're not saying, please pay a fee. You're saying, please pay your fee or fill out your waiver. So you're not saying you have to pay the fee. You're saying we do not yet have a waiver or fee for you.
I don't want them to ignore it at the 10-week point. Like, I think an update at 5-week and an update at 10-week is fine because we won't have the waivers in place. After on week 11, when we do have the waivers in place, we will glean all those who are free and reduced off of that communication. That's when it should be every week, because then we know you didn't qualify for free and reduced waivers. We know what that group is, and I have no problem sending that every week. I just don't want to send 1,000 families a letter to pay a fee that they shouldn't, they aren't going to have to pay.
So we're at
But I
week
think-
5.
Missing what I'm saying, which is you're not sending them something that says you have a fee. You're saying you either have a fee or fill out a waiver.
But
If
they
you're
pay-
eligible for if you are eligible, then you fill out a waiver.
Hmm.
So I just think we're going to miss the boat here again. We start pledge drive in November. You're going to be asking those same families that owe fees for money from the pledge drive. And now they're like, wait, the school wants money from me. Pledge drive wants money from me. Like, I'm just on the record saying, I think this is going to be a missed opportunity, but maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, is it possible just to, as the waiver applications have come in, just take those off the list? Like, that seems like a pretty
That's-
simple Excel.
So the problem is
thing.
like the free and reduced waiver, like in Aspen, when we can pull and see who has paid their fees. The financial income information form may be entered, but it hasn't turned it into whether it's a free waiver or not. So we may have 80% of the families who've submitted the financial income information form, but we don't know whether they've qualified for waiver.
Yeah,
yet.
I'm
That
just,
doesn't happen until
my idea is just giving them the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to get the reminder if you filed. We are just sending the email to those who haven't.
And that's part of my meeting.
Filed.
My meeting tomorrow with the office team is to see first of all, what percentage of our families have submitted the financial income information form. You know, if we're at 100%, then that's great. Again, from my experience of engaging with families, if I send a fee letter to families that are waiting for a waiver, when that time comes when I actually need them to pay because they didn't qualify, they will stop looking at that email. And I hear and I respect what you're saying. I'd send a 5-week reminder to the families. And then as we get towards that 10 weeks, we send that when the fees and the waivers are applied, unrelenting. If you haven't paid your fees, you get it every week. I totally agree with that. But I want the 1,000 families that do potentially qualify for waivers, I don't want to keep harassing them to pay a fee they should.
I just want to use this as an example. Let's see how this goes. I really feel that, to Amy and to Paul's point, communication over communication. I think it's not I think it's important to communicate as frequently as possible.
Here, but this is a deviation from the plan. I did share a plan with, like, this is a different.
So let's move on. Is that okay,
Yes.
guys?
I was going to jump in and say, I wonder if we might be able to find a happy medium where instead of sending a sort of like, you must pay these fees, maybe it's more of an invitation and a reminder. Hey, if you haven't paid your fees, please do so. And if you've already filled out the form, fantastic. If you haven't filled out the form, here's a link so that there's options for people so that they at least have access to the information and it's not like a forceful shakedown yet.
Yeah, that'll be I mean, that's part of tomorrow's meeting with the office is the financial income information form. That's important that we get that by October, or else families won't qualify for the waivers. So that will be a push. You will see communication to those families who haven't completed it. That's why I'm kind of saying, like, there is a series of communication that's going out. And I do understand over communication when we get to a certain point, but I need to get to that. We're not there yet.
You said you're sending, already sent out a communication 5 weeks ago, or is that?
No. So I have my meeting tomorrow with the office team, and we're reviewing everything. We're reviewing financial income information form, a bunch of other items with that. After that will be a communication going to all families who have not paid a fee. That will go to all those families. Then we're also sending communication out to the families who haven't completed financial income information form. That the communication is going to them as well. And so that's the group that I need to ensure we also get those forms in, because that's going to determine waivers. So like that's why like I want to make sure that appropriate communication to the right people and the right pacing is going out, but we will have it, especially when all the waivers are applied, then that will be consistent.
Maybe as a compromise, we can add a 7.5 week reminder.
You know that. Yeah, just for, I'll
I guess I'm asking about the 5 weeks. If I did not pay it.
We're at 5 weeks.
this is that.
Okay, when you send it to me, I'll.
Okay. If you get an email in the next couple of days, you know, okay.
And you should see it on Aspen. Yeah, go to Aspen, check your progress report and check whether or not you owe any money. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
Friday's
this week.
end of 5 weeks.
All right, so moving on to rentals. So, anything?
Oh, give up.
We've received from Facilitron $21,783. Cell phone tower, yay, we finally got some money, 18 grand, $550. Vending machines, $150. Parking lot, nada, goose egg, nothing. We are still in a holding pattern. Chicago Parking Solutions has been charging 2 valet services for the use of our parking lot and has not paid a dime. So looking at you, Zach, our attorney, see if we can get some collections here. Also, Jeff has been graciously offered to look into seeing if we can lease directly to some valet services so we can get some money coming in. Critically.
Yeah, so I did talk to real. So I talked to VR. They're totally open to working directly with us. And then real estate today, because I've been back and forth with them pretty much every day on this, because this organization has been straight line to Chicago Public Schools too. They said they continued to February, but they didn't continue after. So VR was awesome. They gave me all their payment stubs, communication, and the request that Chicago Parking Solutions has been pushing on them. And so at this point, it looks like real estate will no longer be partnering with Chicago Parking Solutions for the new contract. So they're out because they were not being forthright. But they did ask me then some of the groups that we're looking at, who are they, so they can start connecting. So it looks like we may have some opportunities to bring in our own contracts. So, you know, if you and I can kind of sync of what we see are a bunch of the groups that if we can bring that in, because they were charging $3,500, even if we bring in 3 valet services for $2,150, we're making double what we got.
Well, we have a couple of contracts that Jeff pulled, so I think it's good to take a look and see what our options are versus theirs and come up with some kind of figure and negotiate a way. Yeah, I do too. You got a ton of restaurants here, so I think, you know, yeah, we've got some, and I don't know how many parking spaces we have. Yeah.
I was telling Laura though, when they rebuilt Ogden, they built it with the underground parking and the plan for Gibson's to lease it. So my guess is like that was part of their negotiation. I mean, still worth looking into, but there was like a lot of history to that too. So
Yeah. Right. So I'm hoping that next LSC, we might have some additional information on the parking lot, but yeah. Yeah, let's put it on the agenda.
We'll meet in the individually, kind of talk to, because I know some of the businesses have already been reaching out about being able to use it. And even if collectively that makes it work, and then make that a part of our conversation with the subcommittee.
So sorry. So will we never collect that money from Chicago Park? and
Oh, we
Solutions?
will. We will.
Well,
We
that's,
will.
I'm advocating with real estate on it and to loop in law on it. I can't force them to.
If they
recoup it.
operate and they have a permit to operate, we will collect those funds. Zach, I'm looking at you.
Why?
You work pro bono for LP, right? Yes.
No, I appreciate that you sent an email on this last week. And I been out sick for a minute, but so you'll see an email from me on this when you get out of here. But I just need to, I need to figure out if there's a legal basis so I can recoup them. So I think sounds like we learned a lot of new information since last month's meeting. So it'd be great to just kind of get informed of those facts.
Maybe the three of us.
Okay, great. Yeah, maybe we can hop on a quick call. So I just understand sort of what has happened in the past and what sort of agreements were in place. And see if there's a basis on which to, demand payment, essentially.
I just had a general question as it relates to events, activities that are taking place at the school. Will those be hours where the companies, the restaurants would not be able to utilize? Are we going to do like a Park Chicago, whereas there's a code, but anybody who has a student here has like the standard, promo code for a Lincoln Park High School event? Just kind of wondering to not add, to like parents and family members that might be coming to these types of events. If there's another way that we can make sure that they're not being charged to park in the lot that's been free to others.
I can talk to the conference, so I'll have it set up Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Again, they can do whatever they want, but it seemed like there was some things that contract that we listed out, like if you only give them this portion of the parking lot, portion stays open. Spot. I saw.
Freedom of contract. We figure out if there's specific things that matter to us, we could include that and have that reflected. I guess one thing to raise, I think, is so it was Chicago Parking Solutions was renting to who?
The valet services.
Yeah.
And
Facilitron?
Yeah. So
No,
we'll
not they were going directly to, so the contracts they had with valet services, when they no longer had a contract with us,
They just kept going.
They just kept having to pay them.
So, got it. And, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk, but I guess
Do a
is
subcommittee on
Chicago Parking Solutions interested in continuing with a contract in place? Okay, but I was just gonna say that I think one thing, if we're serious about recouping payment, I need to think through that. I'm not sure how strong the basis would be, and there may be a strong basis, but there may not be. But as a practical matter, if they want to continue the relationship, paying, prior.
especially when the
may
valet.
be essential to continuing if they want to be the
10
vendor.
grand a month.
Yeah. Well, and also because the valet services were paying them. And they were not
Well, no,
remitting
yeah,
payment
understood
to
that.
us.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So they were collecting.
They were getting
it
the
out there.
benefit of the bargain without.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the past, when we've had school events and when valet was using, the principal would cancel the valet so that the parents would have, like, if we had like an open house on a Sunday, or if we had like a concert or something, they would cancel valet from using the parking lot so that we can accommodate the families here. is that still an option once the contract is up and running?
We are in control of whatever it is.
Mhm.
So we get to set the parameters of the time of what that, and that, I think for the, like, for this, I think it'd be good for the three of us to kind of get together and we can lay that, what that looks like out, and get and optimize like the financial option. So, but, I think we can do that, bring that to subcommittee and then bring that back out to the group. That would be a good process.
Great. So a parking lot subcommittee. Come up with your next meeting date.
And then the cell tower, so we got 18,000
Mhm.
from that. And do we have any indication as to whether that's going to be a cyclical
Mhm.
payment or just it was a
You
one
can
time?
discuss it in your subcommittee because Principal Steinmiller would know.
You can talk
Yeah.
about that. Is that right?
The AT&T contract?
Not all of it.
Right.
It's, at one of my previous schools about 10 years ago, it was nearly $40,000. And it was a small, smaller school. And so I saw over time how that was reduced quickly. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it was 60 grand, 40.
Yeah, that was the information we saw via FOIA last spring, and the FOIA was granted part, denied in part. We were given the AT&T contract.
Yeah, if we can work that out directly, that would be great too, but I don't know if we can. All right, so moving on to department budgets. There was an order made of 70,422 to fund P2 orders. This is all departments asking for supplies for this first semester. We applied $21,783 of our rental income to pay for the P2 orders, as well as $48,639 of student fees. So all of the department budget was paid for by rental or student fees. So this is why rental income and student fees is important, because it pays for supplies for our classrooms. So everyone, please pay your student fees. Also important to note that the P2 orders does include $15,000 for textbooks. So we don't have to approve that because that's part of department spend. I do want to also note some journal entries. We did receive money back. There was a class trip to Great America last year and the check got lost or something happened to was stolen.
Fraudulently.
Well, we received funds back from CPS because we had to pay that check again. So we got reimbursed and we applied that reimbursement to $660 to the Arab League and $240 to our school fee bucket. And that was it for budget. Sorry, it took so long. So agenda, let's move on to facilities.
I'll keep it brief. We do our regular Monday check-ins. Here are the big picture items. Number one, the custodians are shifting from being 4 CPS and 5 JLL custodians, a total of 9. They're shifting to all CPS, but they're bringing us to from 9 to 8 custodians. And so we're working through. I think they're being staffed. We should be fully staffed, but we will have a reduction of 1. And we're working through just making sure that we do have our custodial form, and we will be monitoring that, what that looks like with 1 fewer custodian. The other facility kind of area of focus are pushing our fence further. We did have our fire, the fire inspector came out. We're not supposed to have barricades. Temporary fences are considered barricades, and therefore that could lead to a fine. If it were a full fence, it is not a barricade, and that is good. So I pushed that to facilities saying we need that fence. And so hopefully that will be funded, but that is something that did come with friends of, is if this starts to stall, what does that look like? Just so we can make sure that we have appropriate safety measures for our students. Other issues kind of coming up throughout the school. We are having some issues in the freshman building with water and water areas where roaches are showing up, and roaches are showing up. So we are working again with exterminators to get that eliminated, but it's an issue that I want you just to be aware of. We did have, for example, we did have the rat issue. we have seen the issue where we actually saw a rat come in the building is because the door was left open. It went in and it ran out. But we are still monitoring just to make sure we don't have any rats due to from that last year when they did all the, uprooted them all from the playground in Oz Park. But the issue right now is focusing on roaches in our freshman building. It is gross. It is not okay. And we are working to address that right away. But one thing that we are doing to help limit the access of rats in the area, we have put up no dog signs through all of our like little areas to deter families from having their dogs in a playground, because obviously if dogs leave their little gifts behind, it attracts rats. And that is another thing that we just have to keep avoiding. Plus, it's not safe for our students because we have students who are deathly afraid of dogs and or allergic, and it's just not the environment for it. It's a school, especially since they like to use the spaces around our cafeterias. That is not okay. So we have the signs up, and actually it, for the most part, seems to be working. Some people seem to be able to see the dog sign. It says no dogs in big bold print, but it's easier for us to remind and just kind of like point to the sign. And people are responding a little bit better than they have before. And we're in a meeting and I don't hear any dogs, which is a new kind of change. But from facilities standpoint, we still have our check-ins. We're moving through the timeline of getting what we need to get done. There is a shift also where the district is not necessarily funding overtime. So there's still an expectation the building is clean. That should not be paid. But if we have an event, we're going to have to provide funds for any custodians or engineers who are outside their hours. They tried to shift the hours to make them a little bit more condensed. I was able to push back a bit to make sure we had start time at 6:30. They were going to have it where it's 30 minutes before the school start, we would have custodian. And that wouldn't give our custodians time to prep the building for people to come in. But we were able to give that feedback and make those adjustments.
And we will be starting at 6. Our times did not change.
Excellent. All right. But yeah, they were trying to push everybody kind of in a middle time. And that just wouldn't allow the building to be prepared for teachers and students to arrive. Those are kind of we are focusing on any fundraising efforts for like our auditorium. We already plan to host 4 of the elementary schools for graduation. So we want to make sure that space is nice for hosting those type of events. Facilities in a nutshell.
Thank you for that. Fundraising?
Needs has been, I don't know if there's any.
It's over there.
So we noticed as well for the LSC agenda that we omitted a portion that we'll be sure to put into next month's meeting agenda. So, Ms. Morris?
Thank you. I'm only giving a report as we discuss for extracurriculars, primarily athletics and clubs, so not fundraising. But I can give you a little bit of info in terms of what the boosters are up to as the athletic fundraising group. So I'll start with sports. I don't have a deck or anything. We'll just talk about it, but I'm happy to send notes around. So for fall sports, we're basically around the halfway mark of the fall season. As a reminder, we have 12 teams in competition right now. So I won't list them out unless anyone wants me to do so. As a reminder, 4 of those teams have brand new head coaches and then a variety of some assistant coaches that have been brought on this season. I am going to say, unless something changed over the last 24 to 48 hours, all of our teams are having winning seasons right now, which is pretty awesome. So let's hope they keep it up. And before we know it, city playoffs will start up. So depending on the sport, those vary a little bit. But we are now displaying on the athletics page of our website, just started this week, a full list of all of the competitions that are going on that particular week. So, and that is really, I think, the only place you can find it all in one place. Max Preps does not have all of our sports listed. Some use other sites. So there really isn't one place to find a recap of all of the games, meets, matches that are happening. So we're starting to post that every Sunday night, Monday morning. Let's see. Homecoming is the football game is Friday night, October 10th. As part of that celebration, we are hoping to have, as I believe happened last year, a prep rally right after school out here at Oz Park. So we're talking about that. I hope Leslie FOL can sell some swag during the homecoming game that Friday night. We are allowed to do so. And we will, as happened during one of the games last year, not homecoming, we will celebrate our seniors before the homecoming game begins from band, football, sideline cheer, poms, and majorettes. So we've got those lists and just coordinating how that will all happen on the field as that represents a pretty long list of seniors. So that is going on. Senior celebrations for other teams outside of those 5 are happening right now or will be happening depending on the sport. Swim is next week, etc. So those are being planned with the booster reps and the coaches. I think that's about it for fall, unless anyone has questions about fall sports. So then we will be getting right into winter sports. Tryouts for that are the first couple of weeks of November. Winter is a lighter season in terms of number of sports. So it does include very quickly boys basketball, girls bowling, boys bowling, indoor track and field, competitive cheer, competitive dance, boys swim, and hopefully a new wrestling season. We had a great info session to relaunch the wrestling team for boys and girls here at LP. Yesterday, we had a lot of students show up, which is awesome. We're running into a little bit of an issue with the district saying they're really not funding new teams. So hopefully we can work through that because it would be a huge disappointment. We have a great coach ready to go. So I'm hoping that that will happen. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for winter sports. Any questions at all around sports? Oh, and we do not need, we are fully engaged with coaches, including assistant coaches for all the winter sports. So no openings right now. We have a couple of spring sport openings, but for winter at the moment, we're good. Yes, Leslie.
I was wondering, because I know some of the, I guess, rival games that are big and we can't like really house them. Has there been some talk of maybe housing like a viewing party in the lunchroom for students at all?
Yeah, I think that mostly applies to basketball, maybe in particular boys basketball, which draws the biggest crowd. As many of you probably know, we have a small main gym, only fits about 400 spectators. And if you kind of extract the teams and the people on the VIP list, it gets to be even a smaller number. So anyway, yes, I hope we can do that, especially now that thanks to boosters, we've got huddle cameras, which will allow us to live stream. So the stationary huddle camera for the main gym is being installed. I want to say it might even be tomorrow or next week. So that is happening. And I don't think we're too worried about cannibalizing ticket sales for the in-person games, and then be able to, at least for some big rival games or, playoff games, we could do something like that, a watch party, as well as being able to use Huddle to stream to, grandma who lives in Arizona, et cetera. So, yeah.
Do you know if CPS is still requiring the scorekeepers to be adults again? Is that still a requirement?
I don't know. I'd have to ask Katie Wheeler.
I believe so.
Okay.
Because there were a lot of hostile interactions
Yeah.
for students for doing that were not appropriate. So that they have been, I haven't seen a change that it can be anybody but an adult.
This has probably already like been baked into thoughts and costs and everything, but like I think I think there were some very last minute calls for like scorekeepers last year, which I think we don't want to have happen again. So like, that's just something I think to keep in the back of our heads is like, we might need to have like a trained small staff to do that.
Mhm.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is someone who has committed, at least for most of the games, for boys basketball at least. So
And I want to make the statement, but I'll actually share it. Like, we can talk about this more next time out of the budget subcommittee. But also just like the reality of the cost of hosting any, like, at most, we're gonna make $1,400 for a basketball game, but it costs $1,750 in security coverage. So even thinking about what you're saying of having somebody who's a permanent person, there's 2,000, so like, I think and those are things we have to do. We have to host these events, but even like with football, football, when we have a home game, we're sending 4 security, 2 deans and a lot of other people. And it usually costs us somewhere between 2,000 to $3,000 to $4,500. So like these costs, they're kind of that I think we should.
Yeah, we usually, we lose money when we host, but we did raise the ticket price this year. It's just nice to be able to host teams and have a good scoreboard and everything.
Yeah, like football will break even because they do have ticket sales, but like these other sports, we know. That's okay. And that's okay. I'm not arguing. It's just something we need to like think through.
and even with football, we've run the numbers and smaller games, not against like winning teams. We lose quite a bit of money given the bus cost. So if you have not seen the new scoreboards, please do take a look in the big gym. They look amazing. We use them this week for the girls volleyball game. So yeah.
Let me ask you about homecoming. Is there going to be a parade this year?
Pep rally, we're calling it pep rally, but yes, I think from what I understand, last year it went around Oz. And so I think that's the same plan this year after 8th period.
Shutting down the street as well? Do you have to work with the alderman to do all of that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know everything that happened last year. So we have a meeting early next week to figure out what the logistical plan will be.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that route, you don't really get a lot of like businesses that can get involved. If it was Armitage or Halsted, it would be, but I don't know what the logistics would be with that. So
Yeah. Well, just if we can get ahead of it this year, just after last year, not having a lot of participation. So, okay.
yeah, definitely. That is the plan.
Well, thank you very much for your report.
Sure.
And, you want to go on to
Clubs? Yeah. So as was mentioned, we had Clubapalooza, which is really the main recruiting event to get students excited and involved in after school clubs. That was on Friday. We had great weather. Thank goodness. Thank you, Veronica, and your team for helping us set up. We did have, I think it was 54 clubs exhibit, which was amazing. Amazing engagement by sponsors and students. Just really awesome. And tons of just handwritten signups for almost all of the clubs. And really, from what I could tell, like a great variety of grade levels. So not just freshmen, not just upperclassmen, but a really great mix. So we are working hard on building on that momentum. So I've spent a lot of this week just nailing down the sponsors for all of those clubs and the description and target activities of those clubs. I do think we should be a little more rigorous in terms of like, just because you want to launch this club, we need to talk through like what's the purpose, what's the goal, what are you really going to do when you meet? So those conversations have gone really well. So anyway, at this moment in time, we have 74 clubs, which is amazing. 74.
We had like 50.
So 54 showed up, but many other requests have been rolling in from students and just a handful of clubs that just couldn't exhibit at Clubapalooza. So right now it's sitting at 74. I would say of the 74, there are 9 that I consider pending just because they either don't have an adult sponsor that we haven't nailed down, or just have some questions about like the logistics or even like the purpose of the club, but it's a relatively small number. So most of the 74 are pretty good to go. We are planning to post that list tomorrow in the daily announcements and on the website. There is no need for students to sign up. They can just show up. So we will be pushing engagement. We have asked all the student club leaders to reach out to all of those students that signed up on the sheets and try and get them engaged if you can read the handwriting. So hopefully that's happening, but there's been a lot of just back and forth with sponsors to get those logistics nailed down so clubs can start meeting as soon as possible. Just very quickly, and then I'll be done. The breakdown of the types of clubs. So of those 74, 20% I would call academic/tutoring. 20% are creative/art related in nature. 20% I'm calling social community involvement engagement. 18% sporty or games of some type. 14% ethnic religious affiliation or involvement. 4% business related, business skill related, and then 4% political/civic. So that's the breakdown. So a pretty good mix of types of clubs as well. I have a new logo, so it's kind of easy to spot as we try to brand this a little bit more. Asking every sponsor to set up a Google Classroom as the way to engage with the club. So it's easy, and we know how sponsors are engaging with leaders and with students. Hopefully you'll get a board in both buildings so we can have just a club board so you can see where things are happening more easily than just flyers throughout the building. We're going to do a weekly club spotlight, highlighting one club every week in the announcements. So again, just some ideas. Of course, we'll be taking attendance. And that's all I have right now. So, Amy?
Of course, I have a question. First of all, this is awesome. Thank you so much for your leadership in this. It's like what we've needed. So thank you. Is there still the junior and senior? I don't know if they were boards or what they were. It was like they used to have like junior and senior sort of like exec boards that help plan prom and homecoming and all of those.
Is that student voice?
No, it wasn't student voice. It was different.
I don't know. It would be great if that existed.
Miss
though.
Theus did run it, and I don't know what happened.
I think that was Student Life and separate from Student Voice, but I don't know
Yes.
if there's still a sponsor for it.
I have never seen Student Life. They're not on the list of clubs, so I don't know who is part of that or who has been part of it, but it would be really great to have, like, even if we call it an events committee or Student Life, but yeah.
I mean, maybe not for this year, but definitely something to think about again now that we have you kind of
Yeah.
overseeing this.
Mhm.
Is one of the things we did talk about before was having like 4 freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior boards, and that are defined by like freshmen plan homecoming, sophomores plan whatever it is, juniors plan prom for seniors, so that they're again looking at potential leadership opportunities for students, right? And these are great places for that. And then building that into perhaps a student council, I think is something that has been very lacking here. So something just to think about how we can build that out potentially.
I think it would be great. And I think if we could try to do it this year, just even if it starts as an events committee, because just take the pep rally, for example, or, other events like that. I mean, there's work to be done, and I'm sure students, I always believe that students are the best, have the best ideas and can really cause the best engagement levels. So there are some clubs on this list that I could see kind of almost taking that on. They're like more LP. How do we engage LP more? So we can talk about maybe even doing it that way. Any other questions?
Final thing, clubs, because we no longer have BAM. That organization is no longer partnered with our school anymore, just because their lack of funding. And the Romano was awesome, man. He like did such a great job supporting our kids. That we will be bringing back two groups, Boss and Swag, which are our own individual teachers are leading. So it's a similar structure, but JJ and Shotwell will be kind of helping push this forward. I know they sent communication out this morning, but it's another group they're trying to kind of fill that gap. So yeah, Boss, building on struggles and success, and Swag, sisters with a goal. Boss, building on struggles and success.
All right.
Thank
well,
you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Appreciate all of those updates. Fantastic. We will now move on to PPLC and PPC.
That's good. It was our organizational meeting last week, so there's a ton to go over. The couple things I will kind of mention are one item that's going to be put on the agenda for our next meeting is going to be asking for the mock exam team to have a schedule set up by the end of October. Me and Dr. Seibler, we talked about that a little bit. It seems like we're kind of on pace for that. Two other concerns that were kind of brought up were like how professional development money is used in terms of like within departments. I think a couple members of the committee want to see a more concrete plan as far as like how those monies are doled out into what individuals. And the second one, which I think we've talked about in the past, but how is the minimum number of students for courses established? And again, a more concrete way of determining which classes are closed when that comes up. Again, that was just discussion. But the mock exam would be coming up for a vote at our next meeting. Did I miss anything, do you think? Or cool. So it's us two. It is yeah.
Amy Smith and the
And speaking of shout outs, I'd like to give a shout out. We forgot about this morning, but or earlier in this meeting. But Ms. Kaler's taken on the role to support our credit recovery and is doing an awesome job. So she's supporting all of that, as well as NHS, which is great. So I just want to give her a shout out to that, because those are two major lifts that she's really stepped forward to make sure I'm moving in a good way. So I just appreciate her work. Yes. There's a session.
That's great.
Attendance and SCL.
Sure. I will be reporting out. I have all of our notes in the folder. I put a summary at the top, so I'm going to focus on that. So I already mentioned the overall attendance rate is really good. Over 896 students have perfect attendance so far, and close to 1,700 are well above the 90% attendance rate. So helping hold us up there. The lunch period swipe system is working pretty effectively. Security is able to monitor approvals. They have a really annoying buzzing noise that goes off when students swipe and they're not approved. So they're trying to avoid that. Teacher attendance submission rates are much higher than last year, especially within the first few weeks. I don't think we had any misses. There have been a couple of misses since then, but it's unclear if that's from teachers or if it's like regular teachers or if it's from substitutes. I heard about some substitutes just leaving and not turning in any attendance at all. So that's super hard to manage. And I don't even know if that's something that our office staff is equipped to deal with in any way, shape, or form. That's all CPS central because we don't control necessarily which subs take which jobs. The cadres that we have here are awesome and they always do their stuff. But when we have random substitutes come in, I don't know if there's a lot of ways for us to follow up on that. So that's a brainstorming area. The attendance coordinator is encouraged by teacher progress, but remains overwhelmed because we have a reduced staff from 4 to 2. Family communication, there was a goal of starting to send attendance reports like really early on in the school year. It's being rolled out in increments. The first round of personalized attendance emails only around tardies leading to detentions went out on September 1st to 157 families. And then another round went out this past Tuesday on the 16th, and that went out to 356 families. But again, only for students who have earned detentions for tardies. I was told by Ms. Theus that the full family rollout with all of the attendance data, hopefully built in with other data, is starting at the end of September. They hit some roadblocks with the programming and mail merging and how many emails can actually get sent out. So they've had to redistribute. Basically, each of the principals and assistant principals will have to send out the communication for a grade level so that they have the power to do it.
Yeah, you, with YAM, you had another mail merge. It caps out at 2,000. So when you send it to students and their parents on second, whatever, it wasn't getting out to the entire grade level. So we have to distribute grade levels amongst the 4 of us.
In terms of detentions, 356 detentions have been issued. As of Tuesday, none had been served yet, but some have started to be served, as we heard earlier with the cheer team. So yay. I don't know how they are. I was shown a spreadsheet on how they're tracking it. It is not, it's not been like permanently shared in a way with our committee, which is, I don't know how I don't know how to track those a little bit more.
Tracking it, you mean like the students participating?
How many are getting cleared? Basically the question around if students are getting detentions, we're not I'm not sure how to keep track of that without the attendance, without Ms. Theus and Dr. Steinmiller like giving us those updates. So that's not something like I have access to track. In terms of action items and next steps, we want to seek more student feedback, and we're hoping to coordinate more with the student voice committee around that. I know that LP is working to resolve roster errors. There's students who are on our rosters who should be removed. And it's not affecting our attendance rates in a huge way, but it's affecting it in like a small way. We need to expand out those email systems so all families receive that attendance data more regularly. And I'm hoping to see some good progress at the end of September. I know that I'm personally invested in this to see how that's going to roll out. As of yet, there have not been positive reinforcement strategies. That was mostly taken care of by Ms. Sepulveda last year. So managing that is a new task for Ms. Theus. So we would love to see more of that. I do think that there needs to be clearer communication around the start and end times to tardy and detention cycles. The document that has been shared with all staff members and with families and students is a little confusing in its layout and not super clear about like which 2-week periods are starting when and when detentions need to be cleared by. I think that can be strengthened and communicated more clearly to everyone. And although those policies have been shared with I think every invested party, I think that there needs to be more student and family friendly language in the policies, as well as signs and reminders in as many places as we can get them, to keep students motivated and informed.
I have some questions.
Let's go.
All right. So you mentioned some stats as far as how many students, was it
356.
356,
Mm-hmm.
were tardy or absent significantly enough to have detention?
Having accrued 5 or more tardies in a 2-week period.
Okay.
In a single, and I think it's across the board. Is
Is
it a
it
single
usually
class?
first
It's
period?
across the board. It's across the board.
Is it usually first period or it's just
I mean,
all over?
in my personal experience, it's first period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heavy on the first period side, but they're still getting.
So that's a pretty large number of students, and personal, experience. Are all 350 something students serving detention, notified? How are they being notified of detention?
I was given a sample form email. It doesn't contain any like actual student information. But the email is sent to the student and their families. I can read it out loud if you would like.
No, no.
Okay.
it's I'm just, again, from personal experience, I've seen the email. My student hasn't seen the email. How are we following up with the student to ensure that they know that they have detention and have to serve it, to clear their record, to start from scratch?
Mhm.
Just another follow-up for Ms. Theus, like, how do we communicate it to the students? I know that they are making announcements, but students are unaware that they have detention and so are not serving detention. And then also, I mean, I guess if they lose their off-campus privileges, if they're able to sneak out, are they able to sneak out? And so,
I mean, when they hop the fence, we have an image of them, JJ follows up with them and they get worse consequences for doing that. So yeah, they're getting busted every time they do that.
Okay.
It's also outside my window of my office. So if I'm in a meeting and I see a kid hop a fence, it's pretty easy to catch them. Like I would do, like you see the kid about to, no, yeah, 122 students have lost off-campus privileges as of today. 122. So that means they got to 10.
I think it's also, it's a time management thing, right? I work very closely with my son on time management, and sort of like, I would just recommend during detention that we're really re-emphasizing the importance of being in the classroom and being on time, whether it's school, whether it's appointments in general, but coming up with strategies. Like, I don't know if executive functioning is something that can be, people get resources to really kind of know how to manage their time a little bit better.
And that is part of, like, that's the shift. There's a major shift in Mr. G with Director of Culture and Climate on how we're treating our realignment room, which is INS, and detentions, that it's not a free for all. It's not, oh, just bring my phone and hang out. There's a reflection forum. There's some specific things that they're focusing on in those spaces to target that. So those are some of the adjustments he's working on. I'm not saying it's perfect yet, but I see that in the outcomes with the students, especially from a behavioral standpoint of the handful of students who are sort of in repetition, and it's not really scalable. We don't have like 50 students who just keep repeating things. And so I see it working it in our initial phase of how we made some adjustments.
And like, I think I just want to emphasize like how important it is that like the follow through on the consequence continues. Like even before Dr. Steimer was here, like we had, examples where like students would rack up detentions and then there would be like this, get 5 detentions off if you come do this kind of thing. And like, it just totally ruins the system. Whereas like right now, like in the freshman building, like I have kids talking about detentions, asking about detentions, like what happens? Am I going to have to serve this? When am I going to have to serve it? They're like generally concerned about this. So like, that's really nice momentum to keep going. I don't know if that I don't know if that translates to the upper grades yet, but like to the freshmen, it does. For sure.
Yeah, that's been one area of my concern, is specifically around the grade 9 students, because they don't have off-campus privileges.
Yeah.
So they have less to lose in terms of that. So that's one of the things that I'd love to see addressed or brainstormed around a little bit more. And then this is not part of the notes, but something that I do want to throw in here is that like there has been a fairly dramatic increase in the amount of like teacher journals and Aspen, that if the teachers are keeping up with all of the keeping track of tardies, it does eat up some of our planning and grading time, especially if the teachers who are doing all of the things are doing all of the things. I know that speaking from personal experience, I absolutely cannot enter reports every single time a student hits 5 tardies in my class. So I've been building it into like my Friday routine, but it's a lot. And I think that there's probably some more automated ways to be able to track this information. I know that like the additional emails from teachers to families can be helpful. I did see like at least one immediate shift in one of the 4 students that I had to email home about. Showed up the next day and was like, I am so sorry. And was like, had clearly been disciplined in some way, shape, or form. But it is another paperwork task that teachers are managing. So it's just more of an ask for teachers.
And this is why it's so important, right? Attendance. I mean, it's great that we have such high percentage of students who come into class on time and have perfect attendance. It's that 8% that chronically there is something that we need to identify as a critical point, right? Where as early on in the school year as possible, we try to scaffold those students who need those additional resources. And I understand it's additional work for the teachers, but some way drilling in the importance of being in the classroom during instruction time, just time management overall. It's a skill, right? It's not everybody has it. I'm certainly like try to be on time for everything. So, and for our students, it's just identifying who those students are who are chronically tardy or absent.
And it's helping. And so there have been 127 total Aspen Journal entries. This is part of the check-in today. 327 of those were academic, 152 of those were attendance. So teachers are doing it. And that's a way that 155 are behavior, 154 other, 36 re-engagement, 2 are personal. But that is really helpful because the deans have to respond to it, and I can see whether it's been addressed or not. And that allows also and this is really helps some of the more chronic absenteeism and specific needs of that kind of trail of what's going on. And the teachers have already had the conversation with parents, and it's easier for the team to escalate supports.
Oh,
But what I just, you can go.
Go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
No, what I just heard Ms.
Yes.
Lovingood say though was like, is there a way to automate this or make this easier so the lift on the teachers isn't, because it sounds like this is a big time, not that it's not an expectation, but that there might be ways to make this a bit easier.
I had only 4 entries I needed to make, but I know teachers who've had to make like 15. And if it took me 20 minutes to do 4 of them, I want you to.
What does
the
an
scale
entry
of it.
consist of?
Say that one.
What does an entry consist of?
It's a multi-process system because in order to make a report in Aspen, we already have to have had some communication home. So
Oh.
there's either a phone call made home or an email sent, which I have developed my own form email that I can sort of like fill things in, but that was like some additional time spent. And so sending all of those, which you have to log into Aspen, make sure that the email addresses are all correct. And then filling out the form itself is not incredibly difficult, but requires just like concentration and making sure that you're selecting all of the right things so that all of the right people see it. So if I had to do 4 of them and each one took me about 5 minutes, one of those is not a huge deal.
Yeah.
4 of them for me was not a huge deal. I know some teachers who've had to do much more than that, which eats up an entire prep period. And it is good work and it is helping, but it is also much more taxing on our time.
Maybe I missed the boat last year, but I was under the impression that the main like action that was needed from teachers was just consistently entering their daily attendance roster, like on a given period, like, you know,
Yes.
by the end of the period, or, you know, by
that's
whatever it is, whatever the standard is, 5
consuming.
minutes in the period or by the end of the period or whatever, such that like a report could be run by administration to see where there were tardies.
Both things are happening. So
Okay.
The teacher escalation is more immediate, right? So when we see that escalation, we're able to address it quicker. Every 2, and this is kind of the conversation about the 2-week timing. We're pulling those reports every 2 weeks. You know, like where students are with tardies. So that it's not a daily report because there's time, like that is also time consuming of pulling the daily. The big part, and this is where this is helping, like the 152 attendance submissions, that already has started a conversation where parents aren't unaware, right? Teachers already reached out and said that. So as things, for some of our students who are like chronically absent, or it allows us to do things a little bit differently because we already have a teacher who's reached out. Now we have our deans and our team are reaching out. So that it's this leveling of it.
Yeah.
And honestly, a teacher sending an email directly to a parent about their child in a unique kind of thing has a direct impact. The scalable 352 detention kind of email is another wave, but it's different. It means more on a teacher.
I do think, I'm sorry, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think your point though is like, I think that is an area of frustration for like, at least the small network of teachers that I talk to is like, you know, we've submitted the attendance. Why are we submitting a second thing? I think like, one is like, I understand the practicality, like you're saying, it makes it faster. I get that. I will also say that like getting a response back immediately from our dean saying like detention has been issued, that helps a little bit as well. But to both these points, it is still somewhat of a time suck, for lack of a better word.
I get it is kind of a measure of what's the most efficient way to do it. And I'm trying really hard not to project like my experience back in the classroom or what, you know, because I know different schools are different and the best solution may be different in every school. But I guess I'm just wondering if, and I'm just raising the question, I don't know the answer, but if there is benefit to, you know, allowing teachers to teach by, you know, where their ask is just, you know, completing attendance consistently and on time, and you know, having administration follow it more closely, daily or every other day, running that report and following up immediately. No doubt that teachers, you know, have an impact, and I'm sure all the ways Dr. Steinmiller's just described. I just wonder if it's ultimately going to eat into their teaching ability.
And it's also, we're not asking so it's really for each individual student. And this is something that like, I think would clarify the communication, like with tardies, once a student has reached that 5 tardies, they're done. They don't have to keep submitting every other. So once it's 5 tardies, it's done. After it's 10, 15, it is now team's responsibility. It's no longer the teacher. So the teacher, if Johnny is if you've hit 5, once the teacher has submitted your 5, they're done. So
5 in the same class.
Yeah. So if in
So it's not been clearly communicated
that's
to
what we
staff.
clarify.
Like when I mentioned that 3-page document with like all of the policies on it, there were immediate questions during our training sessions, and different groups of teachers asked different questions, and that document never got updated with those clarifications, despite multiple opportunities and prompting from me and other people. So there's a lot of frustration around that. There's a lot of us who are trying to follow the rules and expectations the best that we can. 1, because we care about our jobs, and 2, we care about students, and 3, like we don't want to be targeted for any sort of like response for not doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. But it's been incredibly frustrating to not have full clarity on when cycles start, if students have fulfilled the detentions. And honestly, like that chart needs a little bit of help and clarity.
Let me ask,
Yeah.
who is
Yeah.
in charge of updating the chart
So like,
or documentation?
so this would be the attendance team. I mean, so this is like
Headed by Ms. Theus?
Theus and that team. Yeah. I mean, and that's something part of our check-in is going back to like what this looks like and making some clarity and revisions to it. because this is what we engage, the 3 pages we engage everybody with. And so like here, it's what we want from a teacher, and just for the LSC for clarification on it, like for tardies, it's 1 to 2, you give a verbal warning and you just do your normal attendance. 3 and 4, you make a parent phone call, you make an aspect.
Oh, I don't really,
I'm just saying it's like,
I guess what I'm saying is who is responsible for making the updates that the teachers have asked for?
so that would be that team. I don't know the other updates you're
Who is
referencing.
on the team?
That would be Miss Theus, it'd be the attendance office. Just trying to recruit more teachers to be a part of it. I know you guys are checking in. I don't know, like the other teacher things you're referencing, I actually have no clue what you're talking about.
Because we set this policy at the beginning of the school year. This is one of our principal initiatives for this school year. So it's got to be a priority to update based on the feedback they're receiving from the teachers. We want to give the teachers, we want to support them in what they're doing, right? So if we're not updating the document based on the feedback we're receiving from the teachers, then we're not supporting our teachers.
I don't know what you're referencing. Like
But
No,
the point is
not
that
yet.
you should know that, because even if Miss Theus is heading the team, if there are issues, like there's a miscommunication happening here. So I don't know, okay.
Immediately after our training, Friday, August 15th, I sent an email to the entire SLT asking for clarifications. I did get answers back. I replied to that email, like, please make these changes and updates in writing on the document, because replying to my questions as one person was helpful to me, and I can share those with other people, but that's also not my job to do that. And I'm happy to re-forward that if you would like them. Yeah.
About the 5. So. Which seems like curious anyway. All right. So if a student has 5 tardies, that could be any class, or is it just one class?
any class.
Okay, so for a teacher, how would you know that they are tardy on other classes? They were tardy twice to you this week. You talk to them, maybe then you send a message or a gentle reminder, but how do you know that they're tardy in these other classes? Or is that what the administration is looking at when they do their 2-week run to see, was this student tardy 5 times or these 2 weeks?
So the 1 is for just the teacher in their class. So when they've accumulated 5 in that single class, then that's what they're saying. The team is pulling the overall in any period
Okay.
attendance. So there's 2 different things that are going on, right? So one is which a teacher is communicating, and and then the other is in which that's the.
So they're just communicating once they hit 5 tardies in a 2-week span.
Yeah, because if it's
In the same
5
class.
times, if it's 5
In the
times
same-
in
For the teacher.
Yeah, for one teacher.
if it's 5 times in Miss Lovingood's class, for example, and she escalates it, what that actually does, it cues it up to our deans. And so now this has to be addressed, and it becomes actually a part of their behavior record, because they have to respond to it, and then ICT is attached to it. So and that's because, again, it's a single teacher who's having something happening in her class or his class consistently. The other report is being pulled, it's assigning detentions, and it's focusing on the consequences that come with it, but skipping a single class or whatever it may be is unique to that teacher, and it is escalated differently to the deans.
I will quickly say, like, it's 2 forms of communication at that point, though, because we've also communicated with the parent. So, and once we get to that 5, we would have done 2 forms of communication at that point.
Just to clarify one thing, so are parents receiving 3 clarification questions. Are parents receiving notices of each tardy?
I do.
I was good. Yeah, only if
If
they've
they
signed
opted
up.
in. Okay. And then the deans, when they have 5, a student has 5 total tardies, they're notified?
So that when a teacher escalates the 5 to the deans.
The 5 in their specific class.
Specific class.
What about the 5 in general?
So that is being pulled by the attendance. That doesn't require. the teacher.
Okay, and how often is that pulled?
That's about every 2 weeks.
Okay, so there's an every 2 week looking for 5 tardies. And then there's the frontline level is the teachers being the ones who have to identify the 5 in their class.
No, it's just as soon as it hits 5, then the teachers submit that for list.
Right,
So,
but if
like-
they
I'm-
don't submit it for that student, there's no one pulling a report to identify that there's 5.
No, there's also, there's.
It's like 2 separate systems. So there's the automated system that generates the tardies in some sort of spreadsheet somewhere. And then the role of the teachers is to notify the families more quickly, more directly, more humanely, maybe. I don't know. It depends on the messenger.
And
yeah.
I'm not trying to get in the weeds. I'm just trying to, it sounded duplicative to me and I just didn't understand why.
That concern has been raised among teachers that it is a duplicate effort. One of them is more human, and I understand like the philosophy around it, but I also have to question, especially with confusion around how many times we have to do this on the on that organizational chart, and how much time it has taken. Because I don't have an easy way to track exactly when someone hits 5 tardies. I can look it up, but I have to look it up. It doesn't automatically update me. So I have to go in and search for it. And that's super frustrating.
So what you're saying is that, Tom Smith, they're like, I didn't get a report. He's been showing up a lot lately. Then you have to actually think about it and then pull it up. But if it didn't hit you, he could just keep going on being tardy without.
Yes. Or if I didn't care about updating Aspen and sending those emails, then I would not do that at all or pay attention to it.
And if you didn't do that, would someone else be calling home or is it relying
No.
on you to, are we relying on the teachers to call home?
They would get the letter and the cons. So like that,
Letter.
the process that the team of, 3 to 4 people are, what they can do is the scalable. And that's what they're doing right now. When it hits 5, they get the full report. Anybody above 5, their parents and their students are getting the communication that they now have detentions. Then that team pulls, and so that's outward communication that goes out.
Okay.
Then at 10, that team pulls it. You've now lost off-campus privileges. They have to manually go in, pull out each student, and they no longer have off-campus privileges. And so it is a communication, but it is a generic communication going out to these individuals. Having the student, like the teacher, reach out does create a way in which families are looped in often earlier. It's direct from the teachers and it's specific to that class. And that is important, especially if a student struggles academically down the line. So if Mr. Jones sends that communication, Johnny's missed my class 5 times. This is not, when it comes down to the end, I expect every teacher to be in touch with this. If a student ever fails a class, there has to be communication from the teacher with the parent. It can't be you failed the class and the teacher has never reached out. If one of the reasons, which we have talked about and discussed in the data, is attendance. And so if a teacher has already communicated at 5 early, right? 5 times and 5 times they've missed my class, they've already sent that communication outwardly to the parents. And then if at the end of the year, there's still that persistence, I'm not asking them to do it at 10, 15, 20, any of that. But they've already started an initial communication so that if or when a student were to fail that class, the teacher already has sent the attendance thing. I'm sure they're going to send another communication out. I'm worried about Johnny in this class. That it's putting actually the teacher in a position that supports that outreach to a parent that we would want of every one of our teachers.
I just want to say, to be clear, I totally understand it has value and there's a million reasons it has value for the teachers to do it. I guess the question I'm just raising is whether that value outweighs the time it's takes away from the teachers to teach. But at the end of the day, I trust you, Dr. Steinmiller, and the teachers to be able to figure out what that balance is. Maybe it's just what we're doing now.
I'll say this is our #1 priority, right? Like this is our priority at school. We've been talking about this across the board. So like it's a shift. It's a shift that we have to make sure our students are in class and learning. And so if it's something that we're committed to, then there is a value. But the thing is, where it would happen is probably initially right now, because this is where some of the students that we are worried about with being consistently absent, we've already started to communicate. Teachers are doing a good job of already getting that communication within the first 5 weeks. We have 154 instances in which teachers have already done that outward communication. And so when a family or a student that is chronically absent now has 5 teachers have already reached out to that student, the deans now are involved at 10. The teachers don't have to do anything at that point anymore. But I'm saying is we already have a lot of already interventions that have been put in place, and that helps then that team be able to address, like, I already see, and teachers are, in defense, I see teachers doing it, and it's a variety of different teachers. I was able to see all the submissions, because one of the things I was checking today was, are the deans doing that? Like, and I see that they are addressing it and they're following up with the students. And so what's happening is they're able to then have some individual conversations with, well, why are you missing this class? And some of them are real situations that we're trying to address. I don't want, and like it, and sometimes it's a life situation that's causing that student to skip their last period of the class. Well, then the deans are able to work with that student, their family, and communicate what's going on. And so what I will say is, like I know we're like there's ways we're going to improve what we're doing. And this is good feedback, but it's also what we're seeing is we're seeing outcomes come with this. So it's not that what we're doing is not work. We're seeing the outcomes, right? And so I do think there's a lot of adjustments we'll need to, and that's why I appreciate like Loving Good and meeting with the team and all these things, like, because there's a lot of moving parts that we're trying to make work efficiently. But we're seeing the outcomes, right? And that's something I'm gonna keep monitoring every 5 weeks as I'm meeting with that all leadership at the school.
So there's two things I think here. One is that the teachers had some points of clarification that were not addressed. So I would hope at least by our next meeting, those points of clarification are clarified, because they shouldn't have to wait 5 weeks till you meet with whomever the team is to get those issues clarified. And the second thing that I'm hearing is this is working great now and everything's working, but I'm hearing a potential concern that it might not be sustainable for teachers as things get maybe more intense with grading and other things. And so just something to be mindful of, maybe everybody can work together to come up with what is a potential way to better manage this so that teachers don't feel completely overwhelmed by yet another, ask that they're having, if there are things that could make it automated.
And like the clarity around that, I think could have also assuaged some of the anxieties and frustrations that teachers are feeling, because I think that there are some teachers out there who have assumed that every 2 weeks they have to send out notifications to students who've gotten 5 tardies in their classes. So we've got teachers who are perhaps doing too much work. And if the messaging around this had been, we know that it's going to be a concerted effort in the beginning of the year, because once they hit those 5 tardies, it's off of your plates. But like, we need to be told that clearly. I want that chart to be color coded to be like, yo, teachers, when we hit this part, you're done. I want a stop sign. I want red letters. I want something super clear that tells me like I've done the thing that I need to do. I don't have to continue worrying about this, that there's going to be another safety net. And my huge frustration here is around a constant asking for clarification on things and not fully getting it, and then having to manage all of the frustration around that, despite like me in my best intentions, not trying to bring like hostility to meetings like this and create defensiveness. I'm trying to give our administration multiple opportunities to step up and make the changes and the updates that we need so that teachers know maybe this is a concerted effort at the beginning of the year and eventually my responsibility is going to taper off, and I can hold on to that, and I'm willing to do that for the first however many weeks, and then I don't have to worry about it, because we do have like so much to do at the beginning of the year, but like the grading load isn't the worst yet. So like I needed that to hold on to, and I didn't get that.
Yeah, and these are things that like today you guys were discussing in the meeting. It's these two.
This teacher part, no, I'll be open and honest about that. I had a 5 bullet point
Okay.
list of questions and I brought that here. And if you check our notes, you can see
Okay.
it's not there, and I'll claim responsibility for that.
Yeah, no, I'll bring that back. I mean, I get that. You had 7, 8.
8.
Good.
Hi, I'm the only student voice representative left here. But we haven't, our first meeting is going to conduct next week, so we don't have a formal report just yet.
Just going to move into closed session after this to discuss.
All right. So we're going to be moving into closed session. Before we do that, we're going to open it up to public comment. Is there anyone here in front of us that would like to address the LSC? Okay. Hello. Okay, perfect.
Can you guys speak up, whoever's at the microphone? I can't hear anything on the phone.
I want that one turned on. Make sure that's on.
Oh.
You won't hear it here. It's for the online group.
I don't think it's on.
Do you hear it tapping?
Can you hear it now?
Can you guys hear me?
Someone just give a thumbs up. Elika says hand up. Or that's
It was gonna be less than a minute. Sorry. For those who did not get a chance to hear me, I am Dean Shotwell. I just wanted to, thank the teacher for bringing the concerns for clarification in regards to the tardy and the attendance, in regards to, holding our students, accountable. I will continue to keep communicating with our teachers and our staff about our open door policy and our office hours. You guys know we have open door policy, and when we schedule our office hours, we welcome our staff to come in if they have some suggestions or concerns or things that need to be clarified. Other than that, have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Really quick, I'm sorry. I know we don't respond, but like, again, I sent Ms. Shotwell like 2 concerns, like the last 3 students, but like the last like day and a half, and like was so quick to respond, and just very thank you and like kudos. I appreciate it. Yes, but thank you so much.
It's not perfect, but as we work together as a team, and then we don't get to the goal that we want. Sad for accountable. I just don't want me personally. I don't want the end of the year when we got a student in the next 80 days without notes. So to be able to get it out, notes in the first couple of weeks. That's the goal. Because it's like having the chance to early on before we get out of here.
Thank you. All right, so we've got some people online. If you want to raise your hand and let us know if you want to state anything for public comment. I believe I saw Angelica's.
Yep.
Um,
On you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I just want to address and correct a quick comment that Dr. Steinmiller said. I'm not upset or frustrated because graduation's taking place on Friday and not happening. I'm sorry that um it's not being I guess give me just 1 second because I just don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm not upset or frustrated, Dr. Steinmiller, because graduation is now being done on a Friday and not in a Saturday. And because boohoo me, I'm not getting it my way. It's not like that. I'm frustrated because of the lack of communication and accountability in your administration. And that's a reflection of you, Dr. Steinmiller. That's one. Two, you said it was since the summer you knew. So I'm not sure. I mean, technically we are still in summer, so I do agree with you. It was addressed in the summer, but how was it early or was it like mid? Um, I'm confused about that because in the newsletter it was posted till August 24th, not a long time ago, Dr. Steinmiller. Um, Also, we cannot move forward if you refuse to see the bigger picture. And lastly, I do want to thank the LSC and the FOL for all of their hard work, and to the LSC president, thank you so much for your kind words and for actually listening. I really do appreciate that. And as lastly, as the cheer booster president, I do want to give a special shout out to Ms. Morris. She has been very, very helpful. This is my first year as president, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I think there's a group of parents who just been amazing and trying to figure it out. But that's about it. Thank you so much, LSC, for all of your hard work. This is insane. Almost 4 hours later. I apologize for that. But
This
thank
is time. Sorry to cut you off. Time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who is online that would like to give a public comment? There's something in the Q&A.
Jaden Wu.
Jaden Wu, do you want to?
Yeah.
Great, your
hello,
time will
okay.
start now.
I just want to ask, what is like the requirements for like, what, certain clubs to get funding again?
This is not a question and answer
Oh.
session.
Oh, okay.
You can give your comment and then maybe follow up with us via email.
All right. Thank you.
I don't see any others.
Right. Seeing as there's no one else for public comment, I would like to put a motion to go into closed session for principal evaluation.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
all those in favor? Aye. Okay, so we will now be turning off our Zoom since we will be going into closed session.
Wait, real quick, Amy. Amy's there still, right? Amy.
Yay, yeah. How do we?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here still.
Do you want us to loop you in via phone if you haven't taken flight?
Oh, and Ashley's online too.
Oh, both of you? Do you guys both want to be looped in? I see a.
Is it possible, like, you kicked other people off this call and we stay in, or you have to call us separately, or how does
No.
that work?
Yeah.
I can can we invite them via Zoom, like to our own link?
We have teams on.
No, I know. I'll send you guys a link for Zoom right now via email.
Thank you.
Okay.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. We are now in closed session.
All right, let me.
Oh, yeah.
He was dying. Seriously.
You're staying.